Welcome to the NCF Autoglass Podcast. We're here exploring inspiring stories, innovative ideas, and conversations to move our community forward. I'm your host, Daniel Medina, and today's guest has an incredible journey, transitioning from the Air Force to the corporate world to now making a name as a successful barber and an entrepreneur. Let's get ready for some real talk, valuable insight, and plenty of inspiration. Let's dive in. It's a pleasure to have with us Ryan Philby Sanchez.
That's right. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you for having me. Thank you. I appreciate you all. No, it's dope. It's a cool introduction. It's all official. And I was late like a celebrity would be, so it makes me feel all fancy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry again, everybody.
It's all right. You were having your colada.
Yeah. Important.
Well, let's jump right into it, Philby. I mean, you got an interesting journey. Let's start, in your early life, in the beginning. It said, from what I understand, you grew up in Brooklyn and in Kissimmee.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was born in Brooklyn, but I was raised in Kissimmee, so okay. I probably didn't even get to a year old before my parents moved me down here.
Okay, so you're a Floridian.
Yeah, I'm definitely Floridian, but at least they know I have ties. I got family. I got a lot of family up there. Been up there when I was a kid, but I'm definitely Florida boy.
Awesome. So living in Kissimmee and Orlando, being raised in that area, how did that shape you to who you are today?
In every way, bro. I'm very appreciative of it. Being born in New York and my family having a lot of roots there, like most Puerto Ricans. I love that I was able to get that kind of cultural input because it's different there, even just from New York to Florida. And then obviously still having ties and family in Puerto Rico. So all that kind of ties into the Puerto Rican triangle, if you will. Puerto Rico, New York, Florida. Everybody kind of circulates and you get a little bit of both. So I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Or all of them, I should say. All three.
Awesome. Around what age did you move up to the Ocala area?
Oh, man, I've only been here for like 7 years.
Okay.
So, and I kind of bunched Marion, Alachua, all these Lake County all together into one. I moved here very end of 2017, so just almost 2018.
So prior to that, were you always in the Orlando area, or?
So I finished school in Orlando from when I was a kid. I grew up my whole life in Orlando, South Orlando, Kissimmee area. And then after high school, I went to the military. I was in the Air Force for a few years. Then I went down to Fort Lauderdale. I finished college over there. And after working, regular customer service jobs and going to flight school down there, then I ended up with Chewy.
Okay.
Chewy is where I did my corporate.
Before we get into the corporate side, what do you recall being your first job?
First job ever, I was hit under the table at a barbershop. That's how I ended up where I am today. So I was sweeping up at the local spot. I wasn't old enough to get a job yet, but my parents always used to rag on me, like, you need to get a job or find something you enjoy doing. So I would always be at the shop hanging out, getting my haircuts, and that was the coolest place to be. So I just asked the owner one day, like, hey, you think I could sweep up here and make some work or make some money? And he was like, yeah, bro, go ahead, show up. So I would show up on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it would be after school, and I would just be there all day cleaning up everybody's stations, sweeping up, and that's how I made my money. That's how I learned how to cut hair.
Awesome. So what was your experience, your first time cutting hair? Somebody said, like...
Ooh, easy, my little brother. It was the easiest target. I knew I wouldn't mess him up, or I knew if I did mess him up, it wouldn't matter. Better yet. So it was a quick buzz. My parents bought me my first pair of clippers. Shout out mom and dad. And put them in the garage on a little chair right by the washing machine and just buzzed them up.
I'll tell you a story, man. I remember my first haircut. My dad, literally the total definition of the bowl cut, bro.
For real?
He put a bowl on top of my head and he just went...
What? I've never even heard of that until I was grown. I didn't even know. Yeah. I thought they called it a bowl cut because it looked like a bowl. Well, I guess that's not really. It looks like a bowl because of how they do it. But I thought it was because of how it looked, not because people actually put the bowl on their head.
Well, that was my experience. I mean, my dad didn't even take us to a barbershop. I remember when we first started getting haircuts that he got tired of doing them at home. Mm-hmm. He would take us to this. It was a hair salon. It was a lady that was cutting our hair, and then. Finally, as I started getting older, I said, I need to get a good haircut. And I started looking for a good barber and started to get a fade. I didn't even know what a fade was when I was younger.
What? Where was that?
That was in New Jersey, Trenton.
Damn, and you didn't know a fade back then? That's crazy. Yeah. Times have changed, man. Yeah. Fades are everywhere now, mainstream.
Yeah. So you were speaking a little bit about the Air Force. So what made you decide to join the Air Force out of everything?
At that age, man, I was a junior when I decided to join. I didn't think about the military my whole life. Actually, my little brother, his whole life, he wanted to join, he never did. At that time, I was thinking about going to colleges, thinking about career paths, and it just ended up being the opportunity that I knew. My dad was in the Army, but just for a few years, like I never was alive when he was in the Army. And I knew that it was a great way to get life experience. I knew it was a great way to sauce up my resume, beef up my resume, and it would set me on a better path, at least give me some security, and also pay me to go to school and pay for my school. Awesome. So my two biggest reasons is pay for my school and life experience, but I would put life experience higher up, and I'm glad I did it.
So do you think the Air Force molded your mindset and your work ethic to what you are today, or
no?
No,
I think I had a lot of that already, and the Air Force helped me refine it and strengthen it, but I definitely had it already, and the experiences kind of helped me, like as I said, refine it and guide me to use it in a better direction and understand the significance of that. But there's a lot of people I've known in the military who had none of that. Although if you ask most people who were in, if you whatever you go in with, it will help you better that.
Okay.
But if you don't have it when you go in, that's up to you. But I definitely appreciate that opportunity, and the people that I speak to who are veterans, generally speaking, have a more well-rounded perspective on things. But we all have our issues. We all have our downfalls.
Well, thank you for your service, for sure.
Absolutely, bro. I appreciate it.
And then it says later, based on your documentary there, I was listening to the other day, it says that you later on went to flight school. So you were learning how to fly planes?
Yeah, I did. That was fully because of the Air Force, because I never really considered that career path before. But after being around those pilots all the time and the flight crews and the planes and that whole environment and energy, it definitely sparked that up in me. Originally, I wanted to fly helicopters. I wanted to do whether it be police helicopters or news helicopters or private charters, anything like that. But then as I started to transition out of the Air Force, I realized that one, it was way harder to secure a career as a helicopter pilot, and also the schooling, the jobs just weren't as much. So if you look at the availability of work for helicopter pilots versus fixed wing pilots, fixed wing's obviously a lot more opportunity and a little easier to get into, more schooling opportunities. So I ended up switching over as I got out to fixed wing, and that's where I went, South Florida. That's what I did in South Florida before or while I was going to college.
Okay, awesome. All right, and then you said that you moved down to South Florida, and is that when your corporate life shift happened? That
Yeah.
You went out of the Air Force to flight school, and then you said you were working for Chewy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that's what I did. I went to school there. I finished. Originally, I was in kind of a pilot program specifically. And then as I realized I probably wasn't going to do that professionally after private pilot course, I shifted gears and I went back to business management.
What made you shift out of the pilot school? Was there something that triggered that, or
Yes.
you just felt like it wasn't for you?
A little bit of both. Although I enjoy the career and the idea of the career even still to this day, I was fresh out of the military. I had a very good idea of what I did not want in my lifestyle or my work life. And that career field is very structured, very militant, if you will. It's not military, but it's very close to the structure, the ranking system, just the way it works as a whole, much like a lot of corporations. And that aspect made me feel like I was in the military again. And I just didn't want to go down that path because there was a reason I got out. And I wanted to be able to kind of free form my path and not be locked into somebody else's rigid structure again.
Okay. So you're looking for that freedom then?
Yes.
Okay.
It was all about freedom.
Okay.
Thanks for summarizing that for me. Yeah, I talked all around it, but I appreciate it.
All right. So, and during your career in the corporate life with Chewy, what I did see in your documentary, you've helped even launch the Ocala branch that's here, right?
Yeah, that's how I got here.
Okay.
So after like a year and a half or so of working at the headquarters for Chewy, they were expanding a lot on their warehouse side, which I didn't work in a warehouse. We didn't even have one in Florida. And then when I found out they were going to open one in Florida, being from Orlando and Ocala is not too far, I also found out around that time I was going to have my first kid. So when I found that out, I was like, this is our opportunity. So I talked to leadership where I was at Chewy and told them that I expressed interest in wanting to come launch the building because they would need a team of recruiters, which is what I was transitioning to at the time. So that's when I came here. It was just all about hiring. So I came here. It was a team of 4 people on the recruiting team, and our job was just to hire everybody. And being a small town, Ocala was really excited about another giant warehouse, a bunch of jobs. It was a whole different dynamic. One, coming to a smaller town like this. I've never lived in a small town like Ocala. But then also to see the mentality shift and the kind of excitement over something like that, like a warehouse going up, was crazy. Our first hiring event had to be like 500 to 1,000 people. Like I might be somewhere around 800, maybe right in the middle, but it was a lot, bro, for like a team of maybe 10, 20 people to be like running through drug testing, interviews,
Wow.
Orientation, like presentations. That's the kind of stuff I enjoy doing. So it was fun for me. It was a hell of an experience, but it taught me a lot, and it taught me a lot, and it's still stuff that I carry over to this day. Everything that I've learned and experienced in the corporate realm, I apply to my business in a way that I chew the meat, spit out the bones, if you will. Okay. Shout out Jimmy, your barber Jimmy put me onto that statement. So
all right,
that's how I approach it.
So at what point did you feel that it was time for you to transition out of that corporate setting, or what triggered you to not want to be in that corporate setting anymore?
I think along the same lines of why I didn't continue being a pilot. I experienced it, and I got what I came for. After almost 3 years of the higher level corporate stuff, cause I started in like customer service, supervisory, lower level corporate stuff, and then as I went into the more, I don't know how to say it, but kind of mid-level management tiers, recruiting, that kind of level, understanding how the higher levels of management and execution work on a corporate level, I realized that it wasn't the direct, as cool as it was and lucrative for my pockets, and you get a little more freedom as you get up in that rank. It just wasn't what I wanted. I knew it was, at the end of the day, it wasn't me building what I wanted for me, that was representative of me and the people that I wanted to service, share, and build and grow with. That's what I'm all about. So I was like, hey, time to put my plans to work. I always knew I wanted my own businesses. I have many ideas, and you got to start somewhere. So I started with what I had, which was barbering.
Awesome. And that was your point of transition into barbering, and you haven't looked back since.
And it was the way we quit was pretty wild too. I'll tell you, because it's a pretty funny story. I was managing the team we had a bunch of leadership issues, right? And we lost our manager of the recruiting team. And while they kind of vetted me, put me into the manager position, interim manager, for a temporary period while they found somebody. And they were kind of vetting me to see if it was going to be for me. It would have been a huge pay jump, leading the team, real big for like my corporate career. And after a few months of doing that, I was like, I can't do it. I don't want to do it, right? Based on what I was seeing. And they ended up bringing in another manager to take the spot, because I definitely didn't want to do it. And I don't think they wanted me to. And after we saw a few more weeks of her leadership and the leadership of regional management, things like that, I realized there was no way I could keep doing it. So me and two other guys on the team, they kept kind of screwing us over in a way that was really, in our mind, it was demeaning and kind of disrespectful for the amount of work and energy that we brought to the team. So one day we just had enough, and we were like, bro, I'm leaving, I'm done. And I'm not even going to do it nicely. Not because I don't know better, I do know better, and I generally don't want to leave anybody off on this foot, but I have to send a message here, and I can't stand for this. As a man, as a person who knows what I put forth, and not, it wasn't egotistical, it wasn't, prideful, I would say. It was just, I have to send them a message, and I have to be on my way to start my own path. So like I said, it was a team of 4 of us. So me and 3 others came in that morning, 9 a.m., and we just walked into the office and was like, hey, we're done. We quit. And we just walked out. And we had a hiring event that morning. Wow. That was going to be probably like, it sounds bad, but hey, this is the state of mind I was in, and this is the shift that I needed to push me into my own self-employment and entrepreneurship. And we just walked out and went on a 3-day cruise right after. Wow. Like that weekend. We were like, yo, we got to reset. We're on a new life path, so let's go.
Yeah, I'll tell you, even from personal experience in my corporate life, when I was working for a corporation, I know that, and I've spoken to multiple people. I guess the feel that you get from working in these corporations sometimes is that you're really not valued. You're just a number to them. Mm-hmm. And I can guarantee that, once you left and you guys left, it wasn't that they were calling and begging you guys to come back.
No, hell no. Nobody called one time.
They just replace right away. So it's just like you put all this hard effort into it, and they applaud it at the moment, but the moment that they find someone else that can do it cheaper or do it better, you're not valued anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And we felt that. And it's funny enough, being a barber in town and having my own shop now, I interact with some people who still work there. Or at the very beginning when I transitioned, I would have a lot of people come into my shop or chair that I hired at Chewy. And they were like, man, you look familiar. Man, do I know you from somewhere? We're like, yeah, I hired you, bro. You don't remember? da. So it's a crazy turn of events. And then seeing people through HR and leadership along the way. It's cool to touch in. And or touch base, I should say, and ask them and kind of feel the temperature out where they are to see like how far they've come, what they're doing. And every time I talk to somebody who works there, I'm so thankful that I did what I did. And even when I tell this story, as bad as it is professionally, like it's something that I would never recommend anybody do to somebody, I felt like it was the right call at the time. And when I tell the story, I do not feel bad about it. I'm glad that I respected myself enough to do that and to send the message. Even though, like I said, professionally, I would never recommend it. Sometimes you have to take a stand, you know, and that was what we did, and it felt good. And that cruise felt good.
Yeah.
And the whole time on the cruise, we're having a good time, and everybody's laughing, joking, and everybody's like, oh, we just got married, or oh, we're gonna have a baby. And like, yo, we just quit our jobs. Like, it was lit, and everybody's like, oh my, like we're all happy about it, and they're all like, is that a good thing? Like, hell yeah, it's a good thing. That's why we're here. You know, we're free.
Wow. That's awesome.
So it was a fun journey. Now, I'll tell you what, figuring out how to make ends meet when I got back from that cruise, it wasn't crazy because I had a little bit of savings, but it was go time, you know, because I wasn't in the military anymore. I didn't have a job anymore, and I knew it was time to put into work everything I thought I was going to do. So we made it happen.
Awesome. So what were, I guess, you know, from transitioning out of that, you quit your job, how long did it take, and what challenges, I mean, I guess this is like the good stuff about your career right now and where you're at, in starting your barber shop, or did you go right away to start your barber shop, or did you work for someone else after Chewy, or what was that transition like?
I had to start from scratch, kind of. You know, luckily I had the experience as a kid and as a barber trying stuff on my own, but I didn't have any experience. Is that my phone? Oh, no, I'm good. Sorry. I didn't have any experience professionally as a barber. You know, everything I had done as a barber was under the table, low key. I wasn't even licensed. So the first thing I knew I had to do was get licensed. Luckily, I had enough time left on my GI Bill from the military, just enough time to complete my barber school. So first thing I did was sign up for barber school, and I was like, all right, cool. I got barber school starting in a couple months. I just need a job to hold me over until then, and then I can just work on mobile cutting in the area. Because when I moved to Ocala, this area, I didn't know anybody. I knew like literally three people. I knew I had an aunt and uncle who lived here. I knew Jimmy. Jimmy was from here and lived here, and shoot, that might have been it, or whoever I worked with at the time. But which I wasn't like, they weren't my friends. You know, people I worked with.
Yeah.
So I had to start fresh. So I just started cutting hair and going to school. And then towards the end of the barbering school, I was like, let me find a job that will help me put my name out there more. So I took a job at Lids at the mall.
Okay.
Selling hats. Shout out Lids. You guys hooked me up. Everybody who came in there got a card. I was cutting hair before and after work. All of my shifts managing Lids. And everybody I was standing there at the mall in the front of Lids handing out my barber cards. I wasn't handing out Lids cards. I was ready to go. Awesome. So that's how I kind of shifted my gears to barbering here.
Awesome. So opening your own shop, how was that? What challenges did you face? I mean, what was it like opening an actual facility to start barbering?
It was exciting. It was an exciting point in my life because I knew since I was a kid, like 12 years old, I knew one day I was going to own a shop. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, I didn't know how it would come together, but I knew if there was one thing I did in my life, it would just be having a barbershop. Maybe not forever, maybe whatever, but at one point. So me and my boy Gonzo, who's my co-founder of the shop, shout out Gonzo. Me and him met at barber school.
Okay.
So while we're going through barber school, we do our thing. Me and him at that time were more business minded. We had a little bit more experience. He was in the military as well. He was in the Navy, and everybody else in school was a little younger. We had a few more years on everybody. So we had kids, you know, a little more further in the season of life. And we had been to a few shops. I knew that I wasn't, as much as I wanted to just start my own barbershop right away as a licensed barber, I knew that probably as a business concept wasn't the best thing to do because I hadn't been professional as a barber, one, or in this local area. So I don't know the temperature of the business, the industry, how things work here. So I had to kind of, set my pride aside in my experience and say, okay, let me go work at the shops, find the best shop to work at. And I knew I actually wanted to go to a less refined shop, if you will, at first. So I did that. Shout out FLA Fades. Izzo owns that shop. They still exist, but not where they were. So I worked at a real small shop, got a lot of experience, did my time there for like almost a year, then went to another shop in Bellevue, City Clippers. Shout out City Clippers. Jimmy Alava owns that one, Jimmy Blends. And And then I went to Hair Junkies downtown Ocala. So after going to those 3 shops, each one was vastly different. And I didn't really have interest at any other barbershops in Ocala. Not that I couldn't work there, but I knew it wasn't where I wanted to take my career. So luckily, I had issues at the shop I was at Hair Junkies, and my other buddy, Mike Classic, shout out Mike Classic, he owns High Class Barber Spa, and he was able to take me in for a little bit while I figured out what I was going to do. And that's when me and Gonzo said, yo, we got to build a shop. We have to do it. We've been everywhere. We know what we want to do. We know exactly how we want to do it. So we just need to put it together. So in 2 or 3 months, we were able to make it happen. That's where the documentary you were mentioning came into play. We knew, we were like, hey, it was a wild ride, man. I enjoy telling the story because I kind of relive it every time, and it helps me remember why I'm here and where I'm going. And we worked with what we had. We called up my boy who wants to make documentaries and films, Chris Conley, and he came up with us, and we just every day he was with us. He drove up from South St. Cloud, which is like South Orlando, next to Kissimmee, and he would drive up pretty much every day and just film us. And he would have a camera, recording, and just filming everything we were doing. We were trying to secure our leases with the realtor. We were trying to set up the actual physical space, get our contracting permits, doing the mural, like literally everything, man. So we were like, we got to go big, we go home. And then after the documentary is done, we aired it at Marion Theater, and we had a bunch of people rented out the theater. It was fun.
Wow, that's awesome.
It was fun. We had a great time. We got to do a part 2. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm hoping before we hit year 5, this is going to be year 3. And I'm hoping a good amount before year 5, or maybe by then we'll release like the sequel, part 2, to kind of keep everybody looped into what's going on. You know, they say businesses don't last 5 years. Every business, the first 5 years is the hardest. You know, that's how you know you're gonna make it. So once we hit 5 years, we gotta let everybody know we're making it.
Awesome. So where do you what's your long-term goal right now for Elevate Barbering?
For Elevate Barbering, global notoriety, global awareness of our brand, and the lifestyle or mission to surpass where we started, or the foundation, right? We are barbers. We're a barber shop. We're trying to I'm trying to change the world, bro, ultimately. You know what I mean? And it's not about barbering per se. It's starting with barbering. That's my foundation. It's the most I have to offer my mindset and experience through, and my way to connect and relate with people. But what I'm trying to do is much bigger than barbering. That's why, I mean, even on my hat, it says Elevate, but it doesn't say barbering, right? Because it's not just about elevating the barbering industry, the barbering game, and helping people come up as professionals and use it to upgrade their lifestyle. But it's about taking that mentality towards everything in your life and elevating everything, making sure you're always pushing for development, making sure you're always trying to grow, give your best to people, love people, not bring negativity out. And ultimately, that's what the brand is about. And long term, it's going to be Elevate as a brand for everything. I'm big on personal and professional development and business. That's what I personally am passionate about and enjoy having these conversations about. And we've talked about stuff like that before. That's what I love. If you start talking to me about business or anything like that, I'm done cutting hair. I just want to talk to you. You know what I mean? That's why I love podcasting and doing this kind of stuff. So once I'm able to establish a foundation of that for my barbers, and to create opportunities for other young barbers to do it the right way and not just get stuck in a trap of being behind a chair, and understand how you can take whatever you love to do, whatever you're passionate about, and use barbering to figure that out and get there. That's my long-term goal. There's a long answer, but
awesome.
That's my long-term goal.
Awesome. So, I mean, you've worn many hats already. I mean, Air Force, corporate entrepreneur. What's the most rewarding part of your journey so far?
Helping change other people's lives, bro. For real. Like, it's when I talk to people, you know, I'm sure you've experienced it in building your own business and going down your own path. But when you have a goal at the beginning, for whatever that may be, it's very glorious, right? But as you put in the steps to action to make it happen, and then you get there and you're already focused on the next goal, that a lot of times you don't really appreciate, that you've achieved that first one. You don't really feel as glorious as you thought it was before you had it, right? So that happens every time. And if you continue to elevate and take things to the next level, you should always feel that way. without forgetting how much you have accomplished. And you aren't always going to hear from people how much you've influenced or helped them. Sometimes you will. That's one thing I'm thankful for with my line of work. It may not be the same in yours in terms of the feedback you get from your clients, because I'm seeing my clients like so consistently. And having, I don't know how much you get to talk to your clients while you're doing your job. I imagine not as much, right? Because I'm just sitting there inside all day talking to them. And a lot of times, although I know there may be more who don't express it, the ones who talk to me and tell me about the impact that I help make for them, that's the most rewarding part. Because no matter when it comes out, it could be the end of the day, last haircut, one little comment. But when I know it's genuine, people like to blow smoke. That happens. But you can feel when it's genuine. And when I feel when it's genuine, it makes me feel the most empowered and most rewarded about what I do, because I know that he meant it, I felt it, and that means that I'm doing something right. I'm moving in the right direction. Like if he said it, more people feel it. You know what I mean? It's like you're not going to get as many congratulations or thank yous, but it's happening. So if you get one or two, just know there's probably like 15 more out there. That feels good to me.
And definitely, I get my cuts at your barbershop too.
Hell yeah, thank you.
I haven't been there as long, but definitely the vibe that's there. You can definitely see, there's tons of barbershops to choose from, but I can definitely see that you guys are going for a different vibe and a different atmosphere within your barbershop. And one of the biggest things that I appreciate from you guys there is that you guys value people's time.
For sure.
I was used to being in a barbershop and I'll waste my whole morning, my whole day, and as an entrepreneur, I don't have time to just waste. I'm more, I need that structure. I need that I can set my appointment, and when I get there, my appointment time is my appointment time. I'm not sitting at the barbershop all morning and I can't do business because I'm worried about getting a cut.
I get it, yeah.
So definitely, it's an awesome experience. I don't plan ever leaving that barbershop unless you guys shut down or something like that.
Hopefully not. We'll knock on wood, right? Yeah. Hopefully that's not the reason, but I appreciate it. And listen, there was a time where that thought came up, and that was, not that you asked, but it just reminded me. I've definitely started to experience the things that people talk about when it comes to the trials and tribulations of business, and when things get rough and staying strong and staying the path. And that was part of it, making sure that that you are affecting the people and you got to keep going, because at the end of the day, if you quit at any point in time, it failed because of you. You know what I mean? But if you do everything you can and it fails, then as long as I can say it wasn't because of me and I didn't choose it, then I'm good with that. So we're gonna keep doing it.
And definitely, you see the effort that you guys put into, even releasing so much different content and keeping things fresh. There's a lot of barbershops that they just sit there and they're just cutting hair. They don't promote themselves. They don't put themselves out on social media or anything like that. Most barbers is all into themselves only. I love the fact that you guys are a team there. You guys do things together, podcasts together. Even that video that I was watching of you cutting a customer's hair while playing golf.
Yeah, heck yeah.
That's unheard of.
We're on the way, baby. That's our other brand we're working on too, and I can't wait to release that, to let people see more of that. And that team effort, that collaboration. Even what we're doing right now. Your business is not anything at all related to mine, but I know you. We've had conversations. I know we're like-minded, and we're trying to do the same thing. Regardless of where we came from, how we came up. We're deciding to take our lives and our family's future into our own hands, because we know that we're the only ones who can attain that if we do it that way. And at the end of the day, you need people like that around you. And if people are constantly worried about competition and scarcity, if you're constantly scared that you're not going to get enough or you're not doing enough and that somebody else is doing it better than you, you're never going to achieve your greatness. You know what I'm saying? Because you're worried about yourself. You have to help other people, so that, one, you're going to get it back, right? But that can't be the reason you're helping them. It has to be for everybody. Because if I help you do better and we're friends, then I know that I'm going to do better. You know what I mean? That's just how it works. It's not a matter of, taking or just giving endlessly and never receiving. It's just helping to help make things better. When you're, barbers in the shop that don't do anything extra, it drives me crazy, because they haven't understood the value of what they do every day. They just think of themselves as barbers who just cut hair and go home, which is fine if you enjoy doing that and that's all you want to do. But you're a person who has a lot more than that going on in your life. It's guaranteed. So it's just a matter of finding out, like I mentioned, how is what you love and what you're passionate about and how you like to help people and how can you achieve that through barbering, as opposed to constantly just thinking, like, you got to think, if you, barbering and tattooing are very similar, and I bring those up because, well, one, I tattoo a little bit, but I've experienced a little bit of that career field, and what happens is you get a lot of people who come from marginalized lifestyles, right, or maybe you know, ex-cons or felons or whatever, people from lifestyles who are trying to achieve their freedom. So when they finally get it, and you finally sit there and say, okay, now I don't have to listen to anybody. I can do my own thing. No one can tell me anything. Mm-hmm. So you get there and then you're like, all right, I made it. And it's like, you made it to step one. Like, that's step one of, you know, having control of your life. But if you take that step one and you just stay there and don't plan on doing anything with it or taking it any further or helping anybody with what you've created, then what are you actually doing?
Exactly.
You know, you're just wasting your time. And you're wasting other people's time because you're not bringing more value. You know, that's just my thing. Everybody has something they enjoy and a way to bring value to people. And if you don't discover how you can do that, then you're wasting your time. And everybody else is, for that matter, because you're not contributing. You know, it doesn't have to be financially. It could be energetically. It could be just love. Like, people need that. You know, talk to people, show love. People don't even want to do that these days. They think like, oh, if you're a barber, I show love like to other barbers on my stuff, right? And not just my barbers. I'll show up and show love and promote other barbers in town. Why? Because they're in the same business as me. I can't show love and I can't help support them. Their clients are not my clients. We have different clients. Mm-hmm. There's 50,000 people who get their haircuts in our type of barbershops. I'm not worried about that. The people who love them will love them. The people who love us will love us. And if they, you know, decide they can't get in this weekend and they'll go with you, cool, bro. It's relationships. It's love. I got friends I haven't talked to in like 3 years. If I call them up right now, they're still my friends. Yeah. Like, you don't have to worry about that, you know?
And that's great that you actually have that mentality. Not a lot of people think that way. And I mean, and honestly, I mean, like what you're saying with actually, you know, giving and not always just trying to receive. I'm a true believer as to what you sow is what you reap.
Yeah, heck yeah.
And in life, I mean, if we're always just planning to receive, you're never gonna move up or actually what I would say, you know, is you know, get blessed, you know, by certain things in life that happen that sometimes you don't even expect it. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's certain things that happen in my career that I'm like mind blown. Like it wasn't even something that I was, you know, planning, but it just fell on my doorstep. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's been life changing.
Do you know why that is? Do you know why it happens that way? Like, go ahead. I asked you. No, I want to know what you think though first before I say.
So honestly, I just feel like, you know, it all comes down to who you are as a person and what you sow into life and what you do. I feel like all that stuff, you know, comes back full circle.
It does, and that's exactly right. A way that I've helped conceptualize that for me, because I'm a verbal person, but I also visual, a little bit of everything. I learned that regardless of your beliefs, spiritual beliefs, right? If you believe there's higher power, whether that be God or spirits or anything, regardless of what you think it is, it's, let's say, a higher power. Mm-hmm. That spirit power, right? That's non-physical, that powers us. It communicates to us through our ideas and our energy and our emotions, right? That's how we communicate with God or with spirits or the universe, whatever word you want to use, right? That's how it communicates with us. The only way that we as physical beings can respond to that energy and emotional communication, that guidance that we're being given, right? Our inner voice, that voice in your head that's telling you what you're thinking probably isn't the best, right? That's your spirit communication. Whether you listen to that or not is up to you. But the only way that you can accept the guidance and show that you're willing to trust that is by action, by executing and acting on those emotions and energy in that direction. Whether you act in accordance with the guidance it's giving you or you act against it, doesn't matter. What matters is that you acted, and whatever you acted on is what you'll receive, right? Because your action is what determines that. If I'm your spirit version and I'm trying to guide you in this direction and you take action that way, that means I can see you're listening and I'm going to give you more. And I'm going to give you more and give you more so I can lead you to the right way. And things are just going to start falling together for you the right way because you're taking action and you're putting your energy and love in the right direction. If I'm trying to guide you this way and you're not listening by taking action, then I see, okay, he's not ready for that. I'm not going to give him more. I'm not going to let the right things fall in your lap because you're not listening.
Yeah.
So if my daughter, of which I have 3, right? So I better practice. If I'm trying to guide her to do something, much like my higher self or God would, and she's not listening, I'm not going to continue to lead her down that path because she hasn't taken the first step yet.
Correct.
So I'll wait until she's ready for that, So it just reminded me of that because it's something that people don't think about. It's like action is the language of understanding, right? So you can't tell me you understand something until you're acting on it because that's the only way you'll truly understand it, right? You can understand something intellectually, but that's just one part,
Awesome. So if someone's thinking about making a big career change, what piece of advice could you give them?
Do it. Stop thinking about it. Bro, it drives me nuts. You're hitting all my triggers right now. With whether it's business, whether it's your podcast, anything, bro. People tell me all the time, oh, I'm thinking about joining the military. Oh, I'm thinking about being a barber. Oh, I'm thinking about doing a podcast. I'm thinking about, okay, what are you doing? Cool. Like, think about it. I think about stuff every day, but what matters is the stuff that I do, right? The action. So if you're thinking about it and haven't done anything about it, don't even talk to me about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like it's an idea, but that idea is coming from somewhere. And if you don't act on it, somebody else is going to get that idea next and they're going to act on it. Yeah. So whatever, whatever it is.
It's like I tell a lot of people, certain people that I mentor in business and stuff like that, I tell them, not a lot of people would take the risk that I took. I went from a 6-figure job, with benefits and everything, easy job, to going out on the limb and starting my own autoglass business. Out of nowhere. I didn't know if I was going to make $1, if I was going to succeed, if I wasn't. If I knew I wasn't able to turn back to that 6-figure job, so I didn't have any other option.
Exactly.
But I put my foot on the pedal, bro, and I just went. I haven't looked back.
That's it. That's all you could do.
Now we're sitting here. We started in 22. We're in 2025 now, and we've grown from just being me to now having 5 employees, and it's just definitely. That's a great word of advice. You're never gonna know until you try.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to commend you for that too, by the way, because I know you. It's not. I didn't want to flip it on you or anything, but I do commend you because it's a very different business that you have than what I have, of which I don't have any experience in. But based on your professionalism, I can see the way you brand your business. I've seen it for at least a year. That when you come into the shop, I can see you're about your business, and the way that you structure it, the way you handle it is very professional. That's what I'm trying to establish in barbers, and then hopefully further beyond just barbers, right? Because it's, as I'm sure you've seen, it's one thing to have a business, right? And to put a business name on something and have an LLC. And then there's another thing to be professional and do business on a high level and not say, auto glass repair, phone number, magnet on the side of a car, right? That's cool, bro. No disrespect. Like, if that's you coming up, do what you got to do and come up. But if you've been doing that for 10 years and you're trying to tell me that you're a businessman, that's not the case. You're a self-employed. You're not building a business. You're not building an organization. You're just taking jobs, which is respectable. There's nothing wrong with that. But I really respect when someone is able to take their business and become professional and go to the next level, so that in 25 years, 30 years, when you and I look back and our brands are the upper echelons of their industries and we don't even work there anymore, you can say you built that and you were able to step away from that. But if you don't treat it with that audacity and that tenacity, then it's not going to happen, right? And 2, you're not going to be establishing what you need to establish to move in the next direction. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm trying to take with my business. That's the challenge that I'm facing now. Is I'm trying to move. The shop is there, the structure is in place, the foundation we've got that there, and it's been almost 3 years. Now it's time to really create an organization and the systems. I'm working on my systems right now. Create systems that can be replicated.
Correct. And
so that I can take my energy and elsewhere. and grow. That's for me right now. That's the hardest part. But if you don't have a team, like you said, of people who understand and have the vision, it's tough.
And that's one of the biggest things that I focus on early on now in my business and hiring and stuff. I'm looking for leaders. I'm looking for people that I'm going to be able to mold and teach so that they can be the ones that I'm delegating to do these things.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, if not, we'll just be slaves to our own business for forever.
And that's been the hardest part, bro. Especially, again, my main reference is my business because it's what I know. And I know that because barbering is what it is for most people, like we discussed, that once they get there, their idea of barbering has been completed. And I'm trying to elevate barbering, right? Elevate the idea of what you consider barbering to be. And then hopefully, eventually, if I elevate that idea enough for anybody, it will transition them outside of barbering and how to take it to that level. And what you're talking about with team building has been one of the hardest parts, because when me and Gonzo first opened the shop, it was just us two. And I knew for sure, I already told him when we started, I said, we're not bringing anybody in because we need to establish what we're about and create the energy we're trying to bring forth before anybody comes in here, so that they adapt to what we've created and that they understand that this is non-negotiable. So I wouldn't even bring a barber into my shop unless they had these qualities, unless they had these mindsets, or they were open to these conversations. Because if not, we're starting way in the negative, you know. And regardless of who comes on the team, there's going to be things that have to be worked out. Just like when you hire somebody in an office, or someone joins the military. When you join the military, you're in training for like 2 years, right? To adapt to hundreds of years of tradition and honor and integrity. So when you hire somebody in a barbershop, you can't just expect that they're exactly what you need at that time or anywhere. You have to be willing to invest in them. I was just having this conversation with my wife. Shout out to my wife, because I couldn't do any of this without her either, right? We got 3 kids. She takes care of that. And we have our own challenges, and as an entrepreneur, which is whole nother aspect of business that we're not talking about, right? Combining all of our efforts while still establishing relationships and family. It's a big challenge, right? But I got a little sidetracked, but I was just talking to her about that. You're investing in people. So it's not just here's my shop, cut hair in here and then pay me, right? I have to teach you what I'm on and give you everything I have to give you so that you understand the value that I bring to you. And we can now establish the trust of a real relationship to know that, okay, we're on this path together. It's not a one-way street. I'm giving here for you, and then I'm going to expect something back. Not something back because you owe me, but because you understand the vision and that what we both have to gain, right? Nobody owes me anything. If a barber comes into my shop, I have a new barber now. Shout out Eric Elo. He's the newest member of our shop. I also have Mike, who's a newer barber. I'm pouring everything I have into them, right? They could walk away at any time. And that's nothing bad on my end, right? If they walk away at any time, like anybody could, I can't be mad about that. And the reason is because I'm not expecting anything back. I just want them to know that I have their best interests at heart, and I hope they have the same for me. And if we continue to give that to each other, we're going to succeed, period. At any point you want to walk away, but walk away knowing what I have to offer you.
Correct.
That's value.
And I feel like that's one of the biggest things a lot of businesses lack is actually owners not being able to share the vision and sell them the dream, to know that they have something to work for. I mean, because there's nothing worse than you're working in a place that you don't even know where it's headed.
Yeah, bro. Because then most people don't even know where they're headed, period. So when they go to a job or go to an organization, they're going to them, even the military, you're going to them in the hopes that it's a step in the right direction and that they'll help you figure it out, whether that be with them or eventually to move towards something else. But you have to be open to that and understand. You can't just think, and everybody has their own lives, bro. There's so many moving parts in life and in my own life, and adaptability, especially for us as the owners and operators of these, is like you have to be adaptable. Your whole day can change in an instant. At 10 a.m., you could think you had a 3 p.m. appointment or meeting, and the next thing you know, it was actually at 10:30, and now you're 20 minutes late. Yeah. That could happen any day.
Yeah. I mean, and it's important that you touch base on, the whole part with your family and stuff at home, because as an entrepreneur, when your home is in shackles, man, there's no way for you to succeed in business. There's just no way.
Absolutely, bro. And I, like I said, I had some intense conversations this weekend with my wife and a couple weeks before, because, man, before, let me just rewind a little bit. Excuse me. Before, when was it? Right after I quit my job with Chewy, right before I quit my job with Chewy, before I sealed the deal, right? I remember vividly, I'm driving home. My parents live in Kissimmee still. Shout out K-Town. Shout out Kissimmee. Little Puerto Rico. We're driving up here to Ocala, and we're in the car, I got the family, and I tell my wife we're talking about what I'm going to do, and I say, look, this is going to be hard. Then I'm not even talking opening a barbershop. This is just me moving from corporate, making this amount of money. I was making, it wasn't anything insane, but I was making pretty good money for what I was doing. And it was an entry level corporate position. I was making $50,000 a year, right? And it was a cake job, like chilling. Going from that and the kind of lifestyle you build with that to then just saying, screw it all. I'm going to start all from scratch and do it all myself and make more money, hopefully in the long run, which was worth it. But I had to tell her, like, look, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be anything like what you're used to. It's going to be hard for years, not just a month, 2 months. It's going to be hard for at least 5 years. So we did it, and here we are. We did that, and then maybe 2 years after that, we started the shop. I'm resetting the clock now. I said it was going to be hard for 5 years. 2 years later, I opened a shop. We're starting a whole new business. So we reset the clock with the anticipation of what we're building for. And there are still times, my wife's a housewife. Shout out to her for everything she does. We homeschool our kids. We got 3 girls under 6. It's a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? I can't do what she does, for one, physically or emotionally, right? But also, she's doing it by herself. I didn't grow up in Ocala. We don't have family here. Her parents aren't here. My parents aren't here. I don't have cousins that come hang out. I don't trust some random person with my kids. It's hard. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But we're doing it for what we're trying to achieve. And there are times that we have to have conversations like we did this weekend that are hard to have. You get frustrated. In regular relationship stuff, her perspective is different than mine. She doesn't know what I have going on. I'm thinking different than her. I'm gone all week. You have to have hard conversations, just like I have to have hard conversations with future business partners and my barbers, except I sleep with this one in the bed at night. So I better take care of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's hard, but you got to do it, and you got to be honest and keep in mind your goals. When I talk to people about, I've been with my wife going on 13 years, and for our age group, bro, a lot of people aren't together that long anymore. Yeah. And when I talk to people about it, it always comes down to openness, honesty, and communication, bro. Like, it's very simple. If you're not on it, for one, if you're not honest with yourself, how can you expect to be honest with her? Exactly. Or anybody for that matter, right? Mm-hmm. So you better know what's real about you and what's BS, right? And then after that, it's being able to communicate that message and expect that you may communicate it wrong the first time. Yeah. So if you get a response you're not looking for, they may not just understand yet. And you have to really start to break stuff down, bro. And we're, like I said, 12 years in, still having hard conversations. But every time we do it, we're done with love, it's done with respect, and knowing this is why we're doing it. You have to remember why you're doing anything at any time. So that's what we do.
Awesome. That's great stuff right there.
Thank you, bro.
Again, Philby, thank you for sharing this story with us. It was, your journey, all this information, it was great. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate the opportunity. I enjoy sharing the story, and anybody it could potentially help. So, and this is a dope setup. Congratulations on your podcast. Awesome. I'll have to have you on mine soon. Yeah. Shout out Elevate Barbering in Ocala. Shout out the podcast, Elevate Barbering Podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Anybody in the Marion County area or even from here, these guys are the truth. If you guys need a cut, look them up on Booksy. Make your appointment today.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Much love.
Thank you for tuning to the NCF Autoglass Podcast. Hope you enjoyed this inspiring conversation and picked up some valuable insight along the way. We have some great guests and some cool businesses coming soon, so don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Until next time, stay driven, stay inspired, and we'll see you on the next one.